I am so excited, as you must be, about our new Pope, Pope Francis.
Isn't it fabulous? It's wonderful.
And what he said last week, that in an interview with a Jesuit publication, that the church has kind of marginalized itself, church leaders, by talking too much about abortion and birth control and same-sex marriage or gay rights, whatever, and not enough time focusing on poverty. That's your message.
It is our message, and it's what we got criticized for a year and a half ago, but it's his message now. And it's so refreshing to have his perspective that is so centered and grounded in reality of the struggles of ordinary people. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and he didn't change the basic teachings of the church on those issues, right? He just said, let's get...
He said balance. We need balance. And the overly focusing on very narrow concerns puts us out of balance. He actually referred to it as, creates a house of cards that can collapse. So it is a refreshing opening of the full message, which is what we've been trying to be about. So it's great.
And as you pointed out, just, what was it, a year and a half ago, that's the first time we met and you came in, the Vatican had scolded America's nuns for doing just the opposite. They said basically, you're talking too much about poverty, sisters. Stop talking about poverty. Start talking about what really matters. Start talking about birth control, right?
Well, yes, or abortion or gay marriage.
Yeah.
And the great irony that now, maybe we were right. But they'll never say that.
No.
They'll never say that.
Well, so has this investigation of the American nuns disappeared? Have they dropped it?
No, they haven't. They've continued with it. And actually, I think what's going on is that really when you look at the global reality, we're really what I call a small soccer ball in a very large game of politics. And Pope Francis is trying to reform the administration in Rome.
Yeah.
It hasn't been reformed since the 1500s. So it's about time, I would say. But it's a huge challenge for him. So he's focused on that. If that reform can happen, we'll be fine.
Well, so I think it's going to be hard for them to pursue this case against you while the top man, the top dog, is saying just the opposite. But I do have to ask you, how, in my thinking, I don't know about you, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, I saw what the Pope said as sort of a direct blast at the American bishops who we never hear from, it seems, the American Conference of Bishops, Catholic bishops, except on the issues of birth control and abortion. And they even opposed Obamacare because it would allow women...
They feared it. They feared the abortion piece, and then they continue to fight. They still have litigation against the administration because of contraceptives.
Yeah, so given their stance, how are they reacting? How are the bishops and the cardinals reacting to what the Pope said?
I have no idea, but I can imagine that it has to be a little bit uncomfortable for them. Though I have to say that just even having a new Pope makes a difference for them because, we did this second bus trip on immigration reform.
Yes, yeah.
Well, at 5 different events, we had bishops come. And that was significantly different from last year where we couldn't even hold an event on parish property in any of the states we went to. So this time there is a bit of change in the wind. I think the part that really makes me sad is that it took Pope Francis to legitimate our concern for people in poverty and that they sort of go with the wind and not stand up for what Jesus said in the gospel, but they'd rather play the politics. But I don't know. That makes me sad. But
the first bus tour was really in opposition to the Ryan budget, which would have cut every program helping the poor.
Right.
And I thought of you last week when the latest numbers came out from the Census Bureau, that 46.5 million Americans, 15% of the population, still live in poverty. It's actually gone up. More people in poverty in 2012 than in 2011. And it does get back to priorities, right? And it's just not been a high priority. Now we're talking about this budget in front of this Congress.
Oh, this budget is as bad, if not worse, than the Ryan budget, partially because of the issues of sequester and that they've built in all of these automatic cuts. And then they say that's not enough. It is a scandal that in the richest nation on earth, we cannot address the needs of people who live in poverty. And what people don't understand, take the food stamp fight that's going on.
Right.
Whoa. What people don't know is 69% of the families receiving food stamps have workers in their family. They are getting paid employment. So if you're still working,
They have a job.
They
right?
have a job.
Yeah.
And this idea, this fantasy land of some Republicans that, well, what we just have to do is encourage people to get a job. They don't understand that if you work for minimum wage full time, you only make $15,000 a year.
You're still living in poverty.
You are in poverty. And food stamps is a supplement to your wages. It's not a handout to these people. What it is justice that people should eat when they're working hard.
But let me tell you what to me was even more outrageous is some of the Republicans in the House caucus who voted and led the charge to cut $40 billion out of food stamps. On the floor, they were citing the Gospels to justify their opposition to helping the poor, mainly, what is it, Matthew 26, the poor you shall always have with you.
And therefore, we ought to keep everybody down.
Yeah, or create even more poor.
Exactly. But what they totally miss, it's not that we ought to be making more people poor, but what we need to do is the way to conversion is having our hearts open to the needs of others. And in our democracy, the way we solve these problems is the king doesn't come around and give out money. What we do is we come together and we try to solve it in a democratic manner so that we all contribute. And government, this problem is huge. And the big issue is going to be wages, and we're going to have the minimum wage fight because this is ridiculous. This is keeping people down. And we have to fix immigration. We have to deal with the minimum wage, increase it, and index it.